When two security guards stepped toward a black father in the middle of a crowded school gymnasium, no one expected what would happen next. Families whispered, children turned their heads, and the celebration of a graduation nearly turned into something else entirely. James Carter hadn't come to cause trouble. He had come for one reason: to watch his son, Marcus, walk across that stage and deliver the speech he had worked his whole life for. But within minutes of sitting down, James found himself surrounded, accused of not belonging, told he had to leave. What neither guard knew, what no one in that room expected, was that this father was about to be defended in a way that would leave the entire school silent. And it all started when his son took the microphone. James had arrived early that day. He wore his best shirt, pressed slacks, and the shoes he saved for church. He had polished them twice the night before. His daughter, Alana, walked at his side, holding his arm proudly as they entered the gym. The air smelled faintly of floor wax and flowers, and the noise of families calling out to one another echoed under the rafters. James took his seat, front and center, his heart already swelling with pride. His son was the first in the family to graduate at the top of his class. He could see Marcus backstage, adjusting his cap nervously, glancing into the crowd for a familiar face. James raised his hand slightly, hoping Marcus would notice. For a brief moment, their eyes met, and the boy's tense shoulders seemed to loosen. James smiled, knowing he had done his job as a father. But pride turned to unease when he noticed two figures approaching. They wore black security uniforms, radios clipped to their belts. One was tall and broad, the other stockier, with a face that seemed permanently set into a frown. Their eyes locked on James as they made their way down the aisle. "Sir," the taller one said flatly, "we need to speak with you." James blinked in surprise. "With me? What for?" "We've had reports," the guard replied, his voice low but sharp. "Someone says you're not supposed to be here. We're going to need you to step outside." Alana's hand tightened on her father's arm. "Daddy, no," she whispered. James calmly reached into his pocket and pulled out the invitation. The paper was slightly creased from being folded, but his name was clearly printed there: Guest of Marcus Carter, valedictorian. "I belong here," James said, his voice steady. "My son is about to graduate. His name's Marcus Carter. I'm not leaving." The stockier guard glanced at the invitation, but didn't take it. "Doesn't matter. We've been told you're not on the approved list. If you don't come with us, we'll have to escort you out." Murmurs spread through the crowd. A woman sitting 2 rows behind whispered to her husband, "Isn't that Marcus's dad? Why are they bothering him?" Others shifted uncomfortably, pretending not to stare, but unable to look away. James could feel the weight of the stares pressing down on him. He had endured plenty of moments like this in his life, moments where people looked at him as if he were out of place, as if his very presence was a disruption. But never, not once, had he expected to face it here, at his own son's graduation. The taller guard moved closer. "Sir, I won't ask again. Come with us." James's jaw tightened. He wasn't going to raise his voice, and he wasn't going to make a scene, but he wasn't going to leave either. "I'm not moving," he said quietly. The guard reached toward his arm. Alana gasped. A hush fell over the rows of chairs, and then the sound of feedback from a microphone shattered the silence. "Stop!" The word hung in the air. Everyone turned toward the stage, where Marcus stood at the podium. He hadn't even begun his speech yet, but now every eye in the gym was on him. His cap was tilted slightly to the side, his hands shaking as he gripped the edges of the podium. But his voice, though trembling, carried through the speakers. "That man you're trying to remove," Marcus said, his voice cracking for just a moment before growing stronger, "is my father. The man who sacrificed everything so I could stand here today. The man who worked 3 jobs, who came home exhausted but still helped me with homework, who pushed me to be better every single day. That man is the reason I am standing here as valedictorian. Gasps rose from the crowd. The guards froze. The principal, sitting stiffly in his chair on the side of the stage, looked both alarmed and unsure of what to do. Marcus lifted his chin. If my father isn't welcome here, then neither am I. Because everything I have achieved, I owe to him. You can take away my diploma if you want, but you will not take away his dignity. For a moment no one moved. The air was heavy with tension, as if the whole room was holding its breath. Then someone began to clap. Slowly at first, a lone pair of hands echoing in the silence. Then another joined, and another, until the gym was filled with thunderous applause. Parents rose to their feet, cheering, shouting. "Let him stay," a man called. "He belongs here," another voice cried. The guards stepped back, their faces pale. They exchanged uncertain glances, no longer so sure of themselves. One of them muttered something into his radio, but it was drowned out by the roar of the crowd. Marcus left the podium and walked down the stage steps, microphone still in hand. His cap bobbed with each step, his gown swaying. He moved through the rows until he reached his father. Standing tall, he held the mic out to him. "Dad," he said, his voice steady now, "this day is yours too." James's throat tightened. He hadn't planned to speak. He had wanted nothing more than to sit quietly, clap, and hold back the tears of pride. But now, with hundreds of faces watching him, he knew he couldn't stay silent. He took the microphone, his deep voice carrying through the gym. "I didn't come here to cause trouble. I came here to see my son graduate. But too many times, men like me are made to feel like we don't belong. I wore a Marine uniform because I believed in this country's promise, that my children would be judged not by the color of their skin, but by the content of their character." His voice trembled, but he steadied it. "And today, my son has shown me that promise is alive. He stood up when it mattered most. That is honor. That is courage." The room erupted again, louder than before. Teachers clapped, students whistled, parents cheered. Even some of the staff who had been silent before joined in. The guards melted away into the background, no longer a threat. Marcus returned to the stage, placing the microphone back at the podium. He looked at his father one more time, then faced the crowd. His speech was supposed to be about grades and goals in the future, but now it was about something more. He told the story of nights when his father worked double shifts, yet still sat with him at the kitchen table to review flashcards. Of mornings when James left before sunrise, hands still covered in grease, just so there'd be food on the table. Of the lessons he learned watching his father: perseverance, humility, strength. "My father taught me," Marcus said, "that courage isn't just fighting battles overseas. It's standing up for what's right when everyone else stays quiet. Today, I dedicate this speech, this diploma, and every dream I have to him." By the time he finished, the entire gym was on its feet. Tears streamed down faces. Strangers reached for James's hand to shake it. Marcus stepped off the stage into his father's arms, and for the first time in years, James allowed himself to cry openly. After the ceremony, word spread quickly. Parents posted videos online, clips that showed Marcus standing firm at the microphone, calling out the injustice. Within hours, it was shared thousands of times. Headlines appeared: "Student defends Black father at graduation," and "Marine honored by son's speech." But James didn't care about the headlines or the applause. What mattered was the moment itself. His son looking him in the eye and saying, "You carried me my whole life. Today, I carried you." James smiled through his tears. For all the battles he had fought, for all the nights he had endured, this was the victory that meant the most.